Good morning, curious cats. Different headset, different microphone. All warranties express and implied are null and whatever. So, calculus. What is calculus? Not the equations. Well, it is the equations part, but calculus is when math goes from fundamental math, 2 plus 2 equals 4, into descriptive math. It's where math truly becomes a language that describes things differently. So in the human language, common word out here now is a quantum, right? Quantum is a sum of some actions that occurs consistently. We can measure it. That's the simplest, to me, simplest meaning of a quantum. If you are in biological sciences, you might be more familiar with a bolus. A bolus is a quantity of something. So insulin is termed a bolus when you inject some forms of insulin. Actually, all forms. So this bolus is just you put some insulin in, and that insulin is going to have an effect over time. Now, another interesting bolus is your poo, doo-doo. That's a bolus. That's a sum of the food you've eaten over, say, the past 3 days. The bulk of it's the last day or 8 hours or whatever. But that little thing in the bowl that you sneak a peek at once in a while is a medical term of a bolus. So in some room, that word would have a pretty specific meaning, right? So all these things are descriptive words for a quantity of something. And this is what calculus does. Calculus sums things up. One of the biggest drivers in calculus is you add time onto things. So instead of measuring a cup of water, you measure a cup of water over a week, and you notice it evaporates. Very subtle. Very subtle. Or you notice it gets moldy, and you throw it out and wash the dish. So all of these little things, there's math that can describe parts of these interactions. You can put those parts together into something that can mimic those interactions we call artificial intelligence today. That's the sum of what it does. So inside this calculus, again, you're looking at things over a time period. This is one tool of calculus, the descriptive part of it that lets you put some measurements around things. Again, if I'm boiling water, it boils off the stove in half an hour. I can't leave it sit for days because I'm going to burn my pan up and burn the kitchen down. So if you put calculus into that, you can begin to describe and put attributes around that you can tell other people about. Instead of the story about how I burnt the kitchen down. So that's the strength of calculus, and it's a common strength in every math class, advanced math class that you might attend. Or it's more subtle. It's much more subtle. It's in how, as I said, that bolus, that quantum, that sum of things in the toilet bowl. So even urine is the same way. That's the sum of the fluids extracted from your body over time. You can take that apart with some calculus and derivatives from calculus. And you can take that on into specialty studies, into gambling itself. So this is the amazement of these places you can go. Where those doors are, where you get introduced to these things varies. It is a matter of your opportunities, I suppose, those chance happenings in life. So calculus, differential equations, things like Riemann sums. Another video I mentioned a way cool algorithm. Boyd's, and it's a flock of seagulls type of algorithm. So these things, that is math. That is somebody's been able to take and visualize through math how interactions in the world can happen. So there's the reason for calculus, not calculus itself. If you've been exposed to these ideas, you've seen an equation tied to a power line engineering and the work that goes into that. Then you've had a bit of exposure to the need for calculus in parts of an engineer's life, parts of a scientist's life. This idea of time domain sampling, looking at something in discrete time intervals, is the same as expecting the sun to rise tomorrow because we just know it does. We can take that for granted and yet worry about it. So calculus is a huge field. People have done it much better than this will be, but that's why it's out there. It's another tool from different books. So enjoy your coffee. Peace is out.